Hey everybody, welcome to the show, dedicated to the craft, a podcast brought to you by Ballast Brewing Company. I'm your host, Jeff Lozano, and today me and Kobe sit down with the iconic Society Brewing Company and the old school San Diego Brewing Company. So Doug Constantiner, rad name, sits down and talks about his company, all the pivots that he's had to make in these crazy times. He brought along a couple of beers that he dissects and we talk about. And Lee Doxtader from San Diego Brewing Company also brought on a little bit of liquid love for us to talk about and taste. And he talks about everything that he's done in San Diego craft beer, and they've been around since 1993. So he's seen it all, and he's helped a lot of other brewers get to where they're at today. And we talk all about it. We're celebrating California Beer Week, and everyone's doing virtual stuff. So what better way to celebrate on our end than on a podcast? So I hope you enjoy. But before we get into the episode, I just want to remind everybody that this Friday, the 19th, I will be guiding you through a Ballast Point virtual tasting in honor of California Beer Week. So this was available to everybody in California, but if you were looking to get your beer shipped to you, unfortunately, those tickets have now been nixed. You can't do it. But if you are local and you can swing by Home Brew Mart, there's still time to log onto the website or on our Instagram, click the link, and you'll be directed to the page where you can buy the tickets and you can set up a pickup. You'll get your nice care package with a bunch of Ballast Point goodies and 4 iconic beers that I will be guiding you through. Tasting notes, history, suggested food pairings. Really we're just going to crack open beers and have a really good time. And it's just going to be via Zoom. And I know a lot of you may not have had an opportunity to participate in virtual tastings, but I guarantee you they're fun, they're engaging, they're intimate, and I want to hang out with you and drink a couple of beers and talk about everything that we do over here. So it's not too late. Get on it. Enjoy the episode, everybody. Cheers. Welcome, Society, San Diego Brewing Company. What's going on?
Hello.
Hello.
A pleasure to have you, Lord Chandler, like always. We're celebrating California Beer Week. That's what this show is about, and we wanted to have the both of you on just because, one, your breweries are iconic to San Diego, therefore being iconic to California as far as the brewing industry is concerned. And you guys have done a lot of work and paved a lot of paths getting here. And everybody, you know, I like every brewery, at least breweries that have been around for as long as we have something that they've done for the industry inadvertently, as a side effect, or very, very, very intentional. So I want to cover a few of those talking points today, but let's drink beer. I have this sunset hitting me in the face, and it's just calling for a round of beers. You have each donated a nice array of different beers, but we're going to go ahead and start with light beer from Society. What a crazy beer. What an interesting beer, right? Coming from Society, Doug. When you guys released this, I know a lot of people were excited to try it, and it's kind of off the beaten path for you guys a little bit. Is that safe to say?
It could be safe to say, I guess, depending on the backstory. I mean, Colby nailed it just by smelling it. I mean, we are known for IPAs, Belgians, but with those beers, I've never identified Society as a brewery that pushes extreme flavors in any way. If anything, we're very subdued, dry, subtle, drinkable, crushable beers, whether it's a Belgian quad, dark strong, imperial stout, or a hoppy pills. Or your classic West Coast IPA. Like we've always gone for like what is going to be most enjoyable in multiple pints. So off the beaten path, branding wise, yes, but let's face it, we all like drinking beer, and it's kind of fun. And when I said Colby nailed it, it's we call this a light beer. We don't say light lager, we don't say light ale. It's a Kolsch. I mean, that's what Yellowtail that built Ballast Point in its early days. I'm from Houston. I grew up. Well, I shouldn't say I grew up. I love drinking Lawnmower from St. Arnold Brewing Company, which is a Kolsch. And, Yellowtail, we didn't design it around any other beers other than the painstaking process of brewing a traditional Pilsner. it's almost like the pain Olympics, in that the harder it is to make a Pilsner, therefore yields a better result in the end. And it just wasn't profitable. So I tasked the production team. They said they wanted something light and drinkable. I was like, well, if you guys can get it done in 3 weeks, then you've got the green light. And Teddy came back to me and was like, I think I can do it in 2. And I kind of rolled my eyes. He's like, what about a Kolsch? And we'll just ferment it super cold. So, and it's kind of cool if you look at, the DNA of yeast and everything. It really, being a hybrid, it isn't a ale or a lager. And then I could argue that everything you do in a conical is a lager because you're bottom cropping your yeast. And there's all these fun things we can do with it. And
right.
We've always named things weird. I know we're going to talk about the Harlot next, but when we released it, and for its first 5 years of existence, we called it a Belgian Extra, which is if you've never heard of it, it's a style native to the border region of Belgium and the Czech Republic, which Germany sits in between the two of those countries. So we kind of like being cheeky with some of our styles, and this is one of them. But this is the beer, I guess, we got into brewing, we society, and why we wanted to start it was because we like drinking beer. We love drinking beer. And beer doesn't always have to be the sole focus of what you're doing, because I think there's drinking beer and then there's tasting beer. And this is the beer that accompanies your activity versus, hey, what beer should I open based off of, what do I want to do today? I want to have an IPA today. I want to open a Russian Imperial Stout, or I'm going to a bottle share. All these different things where it's like, how about we go fishing? Just throw some beer in the cooler. That's kind of what we went for with this. And it makes it profitable from a business standpoint. So we can keep making it if it's successful. It's not a 6-week lager, although those are delicious. This is it's a 2.5-week beer. And I think
it's delicious. Good. This is tasty, man.
4.5% alcohol.
I don't expect anything less. So I'm not surprised looking at my pint, but this is really, really tasty, and exactly what you guys intended to do and brew is what this is.
Thank you. That's what we were going for. Well, I had nothing to do with it. It's Teddy and the production team. Production and marketing, they took it and ran with it. And they've done such a great job. So it was cool. First beer I've been contactless with, in this day of contactless everything. I didn't touch this beer whatsoever, physically or figuratively.
Tastes like healthy yeast.
Yeah, we brewed 7 batches, source yeast from a couple different suppliers, different strains. Before we were comfortable packaging it. So, and we don't have a pilot system. So those are 20-barrel batches that we're drinking, trying to consume, so we don't have to dump them.
Makes a big difference with Kolsch beers too.
Yeah, that's Colby and I, from a socially safe distance, talked for a while. It kind of blew my mind, especially I've never brewed with Kolsch yeast before. I guess I still haven't, but man, it's crazy bringing on a new yeast and trying to learn it, because we do Cal Ale and Y-Labs 530, and we know those like the back of our hand. And to bring in a new yeast it's really challenging, and it's fun. I mean, everybody in the production side got really excited, but not without pulling some hairs out or getting some grays. Trying to it's a puzzle with no manual.
Yeah, right. And well, look, I think in the back of your can, I'm reading it off right now. It's inspired by an easy drinking, low ABV lawnmower beer of yesteryear. And I think that's exactly what it is. But in that same vein of inspiration, is that where you guys felt comfortable kind of with the branding? Because the branding's super clean. I love it. I absolutely love it. It's right in your face. It's telling you exactly what it is, but it doesn't have a name that society is particularly known for, right? Like the Harlot and the Coachman and the Pupil and all that stuff.
Yeah, and that's something we consciously moved away from, not permanently, but second quarter 2019. We came out with one of our first beers, but a very prominent beer called Agreeable Folk that was not named after a character. Part of it is kind of differentiation, but also we want to be non-binary in our naming scheme. after 5 or 6 years, we looked at the board and we realized that a lot of our IPAs could be considered male, and our old world, our European beers could be considered female. So we want to make sure we weren't falling into some trap with that. It's not what we intended, but it also makes it fun that we don't have to come up with some, other person from 1920. It's like, wait, we can do something else. This is cool. Let's go with it. And so light beer, it is what it is. It's everyone's like, well, what does that mean? It's like, it's just light beer. Just taste it. You'll find out. But yeah, so the past 12 months have been very different for us. Take COVID out of it, it's still been very different for how we've structured the company and the beers that we are releasing from a naming scheme, packaging standpoint. I mean, 12 months ago, we weren't even in cans. So, it is different.
Crushing it.
But it is progression. I mean, we've been around just about 9 years now. And I think change definitely keeps us on our toes and keeps us sharp. And we can't, rest on our laurels. I mean, we opened in San Diego because we wanted to be challenged by the best breweries in the world that are a couple miles away from us, like you guys. And I'm talking to you too, Lee. And, I think keeping everything the same I think it's a good, for us at least, a recipe for, fading away slowly, a slow, painful death.
Well, it's relevant, man. It really is relevant. And what's funny about it, it's that you've harnessed some sort of image, right? You've harnessed a kind of brewery, a kind of marketing that you are, and then you guys completely went another direction, and it fits and it suits you still. So that means that's just to say that you've done it in a good, tactful way, where you've kind of been able to release something like beer amidst the rest of your portfolio, and it raises an eyebrow, but it's not too out there for your consumer, for your fans. They're not like, what are they doing? It's more like, oh, that's really cool, and that's a testament to how you've been able to maneuver. And what does this mean that from here on out? I'm prying a little bit. From here on out into the future, are we going to see a lot more of this venturing into a lot more just clever, different ways of marketing for you guys? Are you guys having that much fun with it?
Yeah, we are. And we're not old from a business standpoint, but from a brewery standpoint, we're definitely at least adolescents, if not young adult. And I think marketing becomes very important, especially now that we are packaging. We are with a distributor in 7 counties. I mean, it's kind of time to grow up. The little art project, only lasted so long, and it was fun, but it wasn't going to last forever. So yeah, marketing's fun. It's cool. We're talking to a lot of people. It brings in a lot of excitement, and I think it provides for a lot of professional growth internally too.
Well, since you've been around for so long too, you're an advocate for not only your own brewery, but other breweries as well, right?
Absolutely.
Being a board member of the California Craft Brewers Association, correct?
That's right. That is my passion outside of my own brewery is small breweries, especially in California. I love this state. I moved here. I'm not from here. I moved to San Diego specifically in 2009 because I saw it as the highest concentration of world-class breweries, and I wanted to be part of that. That's what I live for is incredible beer.
I remember you coming down peddling unmarked bottles at the CBC one year on the floor.
Was this?
Do you remember that?
He's like, no. That was 4 sheets to the wind.
I thought it was
2012?
I thought it was like the big champagne bottles, and then you were doing. I thought it was a saison for some reason.
Was it 2012?
Yeah, it was before you were in it.
Because we opened. Well, the CBC was also in San Diego in 2010.
No, 12, 4,
8, 4, 8, 12.
Yeah, 4, 8, 12. There you go.
It might have been
brewer memory
when I was a home brewer.
Maybe, yeah. Or you were up.
No, or I was peddling unlabeled bottles.
I think you were peddling unlabeled bottles.
I don't know what you're talking about, Colby.
Yeah. It might have been from another brewery up in Orange County, actually.
Oh, that would make sense. That would make sense. Yeah, I used to be at the brewery.
Yeah.
Yeah, had a bunch of awesome. They weren't even low fills; they were perfect bottles that the labels didn't go on right. So
Nice.
Well, look, I mean, society is a staple here in San Diego as far as craft brewers are concerned. I mean, you guys are on everyone's list all the time. And one of the funny things that I was talking to Lee about is San Diego has become such a mecca for craft beer. And California has become such a mecca state for craft beer. And Lee, you got the name, dude. I mean, you got the name, San Diego Brewing Company. I mean, that's boom in a nutshell. And I thought that was kind of cool because as San Diego starts to, or continues rather, to be the go-to place for craft beer, especially for tourist visitors and stuff, what's better to say than San Diego Brewing Company, right? And with that, let's crack one of these open right now. What are we drinking right here? This Hellas. Look at that branding.
It is a Hellas.
Branding is awesome, dude. I'm telling you, I walked into the brewery with this and all eyes were on it. They were like, what is that? That looks cool.
The name made me laugh for sure. That's an awesome name.
It's because you're old enough, Colby. Because that has the marketing department didn't necessarily talk to the production department on your phone. I've been at a few beer festivals with this beer, and what only kids can drink this? They didn't quite understand that, and that actually was a B side for a Pat Benatar 45.
Yep.
That was not actually the release, and so Hell's for Children, which is again Pat Benatar, maybe what your mom listens to, and stuff like that. So, but yeah, that was the name.
That's a great Pat Benatar song, actually.
Yes, it is.
Do you want to hear something crazy really quickly? Sorry, Lee.
Go
but
for
we
it.
were talking about the brewery. Tyler King, who was my boss when I was at the brewery, his aunt is Pat Benatar.
Very nice.
Whoa, there you go. Oh, let me.
Sorry.
No, that's cool.
So, Lee, I mean, we're talking about 1993.
Correct.
I mean, San Diego Brewing Company. And I actually remember before I was even into the craft beer, even before I was in the industry, I went to San Diego Brewing Company a couple of times. And when you're there as a casual, like I wasn't into craft beer, it's just good beer. And what you hope for is not to be interrupted by how bad beer is. That's what I say to all of my buddies that are not into craft beer. It's like, I went to this brewery the other day and I had a beer and I don't really remember it. Well, that's good. That's the first step. If it's not memorably bad, that's a good step. The next step is to be memorably good. So what's your story with San Diego Brewing Company and how did that come about?
Well, originally it came about because we started brewing with Callahan's in 1990 in Mira Mesa area. And we were getting ready to expand in 93. We wanted to do a multiple location type scenario. And we were looking at that area. I don't know. We were trying to find an area. It's kind of funny because the original Callahan's was kind of in a mall. And it had a video store, and it had a Pizza Hut, and it had a bunch of different things. And a realtor showed us this location that we're at now, and he said, well, it had a Pizza Hut, it had a Black Angus near it, it had everything that was kind of the same, and we weren't that far from the stadium. So we went in there, and I think, I don't know if you remember when Food Maker had or Jack in the Box, they had the E. coli scare, and this was again probably before you were born. But but anyway, it affected all the rest. A couple people died from the E. coli, and so their sales went plummeted. And I'm thinking, well, wow, what if that happens to us? And the other thing was, Callahan's wasn't really trademarkable. There's a hot dog place in the East Coast that has the trademark for Callahan's, and then there's a Callahan's in every city. And so we were like, well, what else can we call it? And I kind of looked around, and somebody had worked with the name, but then nobody really registered it with trademarked it. So it wasn't originally a brewery in San Diego back in late 1800s into the 1900s up till World War II. And so then the name was laying dormant. So we kind of said, well, two things. If something ever happened bad at one location, it won't affect both locations. That was kind of our logic at the time. I don't know. And then the other was that, it was kind of iconic and a good name. And we've tried to honor it, with such. And
You're doing a good job, dude. This is delicious.
Good. No, this is our brewer's Matt Navarre, and I like Doug. Never touched this beer other than right now I'm drinking it. Other than drinking it, but
right.
Matt has done an excellent job with it. Again, it's really easy to when you're home brewing, especially it's easy to make a dark beer. You can hide a lot of mistakes in it, but when you get into the lighter beers like these and everything else, it's a lot harder to keep it really clean, and I'm glad it's held up. And like I said, other than the name, that just
So it's not a Hellas for the children. That's that.
No, it is Hellas for the Children. That's what it's called.
Okay.
It's a takeoff on the song.
Well, this is good, and one of the things, man, about your breweries specifically is that you've stayed outside of distribution, right? You haven't, you are only available at your spot at your brewery, and
we've been doing some distribution, but we're all doing it ourselves. I mean, my partner Scott is our delivery guy, and I kind of do some of the sales, and so it's pretty much been again with COVID, everything's kind of we're trying to get through this just like everybody, and so we're kind of down to the nuts and bolts of the operation again, and we just want to be around after this, so I'm doing what it takes, and everybody is. I mean, no one's been immune to this. Nobody. So we're all lucky that we're even working, and that people are still coming in and spending money, and that people are willing to actually support the community. And we all. I thank people every day. Thanks for coming in. Appreciate it. Even though it's on the patio or however, or buying crawlers to go, or I never thought people would come in and just. Because we've always been a restaurant primarily and not a restaurant brewery, and just people to suddenly come in and go, okay, I want your food to go, and I'm just like, oh, okay, we're not used to that.
Yeah.
But that is the thing, right? Everything's different. So.
Yeah. I mean, throughout California, I think we all know California has been very unique in its handling of this whole situation. And so, in light of California Beer Week, everybody has had to pivot and adjust. But the whole premise about the week in general is about uplifting each other, right? From borderline to borderline, and saying, hey, the state is full of world-class breweries making world-class beer. And this is kind of our moment to really conscientiously help one another, and where typically it's full of beer dinners and come into the place and a lot of camaraderie and getting together, it's not. And so it just feels so strange, and it feels so weird. How do you guys feel about that void of what people usually like? Your brewery is not just beer. It's about the environment when you come in, and that has a lot to do with it's like another ingredient. How have you guys been able to maneuver, kind of bringing your individual breweries it's like not there. You have to almost take it home with you to go.
Mm-hmm. And it's like you said, there's thing. I can't even count the amount of beer festivals that I've participated in and actually poured at and worked at. And I was like, oh, geez, it's kind of refreshing not to have, but I'm actually missing doing beer festivals. So it's kind of sad because sometimes you're just like, oh yeah, another beer festival. But it does, you really do connect with the public, and it really gives you feedback. And that's, like I said, we premiered this beer at a beer festival, and I want to say it was the CCBA one up in Long Beach. I'm trying to remember, and again, just the looks on people, hell is for children. They couldn't figure it out. The pun didn't roll off their. They didn't get it, but it's a fun beer, and like Doug's the light beer, I think it has a real purpose, a little lower in alcohol, fairly clean, easy drinking. It's a style, a German style. Again, we had talked when you came in. It's just like you are seeing a shift in people's taste, or at least the younger generation, because again, IPA has been around so long now that, to a lot of people, it's your dad's beer, right?
Yeah.
Dad drinks IPA. I'm not going to drink IPA. I'm going to drink something. I'm not my dad, So you're like, oh, I'm going to drink that. Yeah, that stuff, that light beer or that.
That's new.
Yeah, that's better. That's better. But
well, since you called me old earlier, I'll fire that back at you. And my whole argument too is you've been in the business long enough to kind of see the circle, how cyclical it's become. Whereas, back when you opened up, it was Zima and Behringer White Zinfandel and, Labatt's Blue and Moosehead. And, so what are we drinking now? Hell is for Children, some seltzers,
Yep.
So, I almost see it as just kind of a relearning, relearning of the palates. That's why I always kind of remind people to do beginner classes or, beginner beers every once in a while, just to not get so full of themselves.
I would agree with that. And I just remember with Callahan's with Quaff coming in, and people, we did have this kind of beer to start. I mean, this was the lighter beers were what we were trying to produce. And they would come in and then they'd have little vials of hop oil and they would add it to the beer. And I was just like,
genius.
Yeah. And I was like, what are you guys doing? And it's like, oh, this is great. And I try, and it was like, all full of grass, and you were just like going, what the hell? And who knew that, that was the forerunner for IPA style in San Diego. So,
but then by the time you opened up San Diego Brewing Company, you put in all the taps. Mm-hmm. And I think people forget how much you did for craft beer in San Diego. Cause there was basically the Liars Club, O'Brien's. And then if you wanted Sierra Nevada, something weird, you'd go to San Diego Brewing Company or Newport Bar and Grill on Newport Avenue in Ocean Beach.
Yeah.
And for me, those were, when I got here in 94, those were the 4 places that I would go. Those were actually had choices,
right?
On draft. And that was unusual back then for sure. And there was less than 8 breweries probably at the time, 8 to 10.
That's hard to imagine.
About that. And then there was a cycle too in the late 90s of some closings and some breweries that went away that had been around for a while. So
that's how it happens, dude. We were talking about guys like Doug, like Society, man. What you guys have been able to do, I'm holding up a Harlot to any of you that are just listening, not watching us on YouTube. I am holding up Society's beautiful, the Harlot, which looks a lot different than the light beer, but it's a little bit more what you guys started out as. And you might be the right guy to ask, because amidst this pandemic and all the closures and stuff, it goes against your whole ethos as a brewery. Like your name is Society. Your name is about bringing people together. Like all of the ethos behind what you guys are doing was about, all sitting around at a bar, sitting at a table, cheersing everybody. How are you dealing with this, man?
Well, I'm happy 2020 is over. I guess that's one of the things I'm happy to deal with. But yeah, that's exactly right. We started this brewery called Society because beer is for everybody in society, and that beer is not too good for anybody and nobody's too good for beer. and that it's the greatest social uniter of all time. I mean, I think one of the greatest things about beer is that it is low risk. You don't have to make a lot of money to be able to afford it, to experiment with it, to get into it. And I can't say that about a lot of other things. And I love having beers with people. And with the pandemic, yeah, that was kind of like, whoa, shoot. There goes like our whole entire pitch. Going into it, we were 92% of our revenue was coming from bars and restaurants. So yeah, it was, we didn't can because we didn't want people drinking at home by themselves. We love the idea of like the socializing aspect of it. Yeah. But thankfully we got a canning line up and running February 27th, 2020. So internally we've kind of shifted our mindsets from bringing people for on-premise drinking and socializing to more of like, how can we bring this community feel home? And we're doing that through marketing. So it's being able to feel connected without seeing other people and, just knowing that we got to hang in there and we'll make it through this.
Well said, man. And I think that sentiment sums up brewing, craft beer, and California Beer Week that's what it's all about, right? It's all about getting Lee's sentiments, Colby's sentiments, your sentiments, all of us that are trying to do good for the craft beer industry, trying to do good for society, and not being too serious about it. Just enjoy a beer, have fun with your friends, and catch up, because these are the moments that are going to count at the end. And now we just got to do it virtually. There's a lot of things that have been done behind LCD screens and people tuning in from the comforts of their own home. There's been a lot of positive aspects about this whole thing, in the sense that, one, you were able to really kind of see who your fans were, who your true fans were, who the people that were going to root for you to the end were. And how has that been for each of you, seeing just the inflow of support to your individual breweries?
Yeah, I mean, it's at least for us, for me personally, a lot of it has been less of a financial impact, seeing the fan base, and more of like a figurative filling the gas tank to keep going. I've said a bunch of times when people are like, what can I do to support small breweries and restaurants? It's like, if you can't go spend the money there, because a lot of people got laid off, it's like, go write them a 5-star Yelp review. Tell them how much you miss them, because seeing that, well, the business owners and the people who are working there that are fortunate enough to solve their jobs, like that puts a lot of like fuel in the fire to keep going. And it's been cool seeing every single time we reopen, or the state reopens, and we're allowed to have people come back, how happy they are to come back, how happy they are to see us. I'm like, all right, all those sleepless nights were worth it. So it's been awesome. And I think more than ever, people aren't taking for granted, and have not been taking for granted, the enjoyment they get from going out and spending their hard-earned dollars on places they really love.
So this is one of my favorite beers, top 10, I'd say.
It's delicious, man.
Very good.
From Society? Top 10?
Yep. No, top 10. I love this beer, man.
Thank you.
And, I've never really been a fan of blonde ales, but since this can tells me it's a blonde ale, apparently I'm a fan now.
People do get punched in the mouth when they get that Belgian-esque pleasant surprise, we'll call it.
Mm-hmm. No, it's very good. And we've sold it and had it on tap. And I think the thing, too, that to realize is that, I don't know if everybody sees it the same way I'm seeing it, but these three people that are on here now, and I'm tooting my own horn at this point, apparently. I mean, we've all done things for the brewing community beyond just our own places. And I think you got to, give us, not us, but we give everybody, I mean, even though things aren't hunky-dory right now, and, we're in the middle of COVID, and we should probably all have masks on right now, too, because we're seeing each other this close.
I sanitize my hands.
We're making eye contact.
Thank you. Because I felt a little violated by not seeing masks on any of you. But And plus, it's a lot easier to look at you with that mask on.
Yeah, just wear the mask, please, regardless of where we're at with this pandemic.
But I mean, Colby was, the original San Diego Brewers Guild, president, and brought it together. Well, you were on the edge. If you weren't you were the next one or whatever.
Yeah, version 2.
Yes. And held that thing together for quite a long time.
I was the reviver. I revived it.
Yep. And Doug has stepped up to CCBA, and that's so cool. And, I served a lot of years on both organizations. And
10 years on the San Diego Brewers Guild board.
Yeah. Well, and then I guess they reminded me of 17 on the CCBA, and then they had to put in term limits after that. So, we don't want that to happen again. He was on there a little too long. So, I mean, when I was on the CCBA, Fritz Maytag was the president. And we went and had a board meeting in his winery house in the middle of the grape vineyards, and there was olive trees and there was all kinds of crazy stuff, and they opened up the house and we had a board meeting out in the middle of the vineyards. And I was just like, wow, apparently I'm doing something wrong. So it was interesting. It's really interesting to see like how everyone develops their own style, and it also pivots, like what Doug's had to do. I haven't quite pivoted that hard yet, but that's something that we're all looking at.
Well, one of the things that I want to give people context as far as what it is that you do, that's the best way to phrase it. A lot of people don't understand what this week actually even means. When you say California Beer Week, when you say San Diego Beer Week, when you say San Francisco Beer Week, and when you say that we had a board meeting and we're a Brewers Association, a lot of people don't know what that means. They think it's a homebrew club. A lot of people think it's a homebrew club. So what are some of the big things that get decided in these board meetings as far as the state of craft beer?
Well, a lot of it is the forces that are trying to take away some of the privileges that the small brewer has in California. I mean, California has a unique license for small brewers, and it's a Type 23, and it allows you to do a lot of things that in other states they can't do. So I can distribute my own beer to other people. I can self-distribute. Basically, I don't have to sign with a distributor. Many states don't allow that. Also, we can sell direct to consumers. We can sell, of course, everything's changed a little bit in COVID, but we can sell over the bar. We can sell direct to go. There's just a lot of, the whole system was set up as a 3-tier system after Prohibition. So you would have breweries, distributors, and then the basically wholesalers, brewers, and then the public. So you had the 3-tier system, more or less. I don't know if that makes sense now. There was somehow I'm missing a tier, but everybody was supposed to be individual. And in California, the Type 23, which Jerry Brown, I think when he was in office, signed the ability to do it gave California brewers the ability to do everything, the small brewer. And even the bigger ones too. I mean, because now Budweiser or InBev has a distributorship in San Diego too. So it changed the rules a little bit, but then it also gave us a fighting chance. And there's a lot of rules where people say, "Oh, we'll just do 2 for 1." Why don't you if you want to get into an account, why don't you just go, well, if you buy 2, I'll give you an extra 1 and all that. There's actually rules that prevent that. Not so much in liquor and wine, but in the beer industry. So it's given the small brewers like ourselves all a fighting chance against some of the bigger ones. And that's why we've prevailed probably as long as we have. And I'll get off my soapbox now. Thank you.
Well,
but that's it.
Right.
Yeah, and you have to do that. I mean, it really is a matter of limited real estate. It's an issue of limited real estate. And when somebody wants, I guess, the whole pie, you need groups like that, like the Brewers Association, and you need, even more microcosm groups to feed ideas send them into the ether. And in order to prevent a lot of these ideas that they might have from prevailing. So it matters. That's basically all in a barley husk. It all matters.
You have to realize there's still multiple states that you still can't do that. They still can't self-distribute.
Correct.
You know what I mean? They can't do the things that we're doing here in California. So it was an unfair advantage, I think, for California in a lot of ways. That's why we've gotten so good at what we're doing. That's why there are so many good breweries here in California. We got a huge head start on it, I think, because of that.
Correct.
100%.
Yeah.
That is a question that you hear often, is why is there such a just a concentrated mass of great breweries in California? You're saying that it has a lot to do with it.
It has all to do with it.
Yeah, it actually gives everybody a kind of a fighting chance here. There you can start out as a one-man operation, with a little thing in your garage almost, and license it, and you can distribute and go from there. You can do it all from that angle.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's how you can begin. I mean, we began with a 3-barrel system, was our first system. That we had at Callahan's. It was really good. So, yeah, that's how it works.
And Doug, are you seeing a lot of the facilitation, you could say, now entering the world of packaging, where all these California specific laws and everything that's been aided by these groups, the California Brewers Association and stuff like that, where your company has aided in that?
Yes. I mean, at our level of production with packaging, it's not so important as it was 7 years ago when we opened, and we were 2 years into self-distributing, and I don't want to say we could do whatever we want, because it is still very restrictive. I mean, we are manufacturing and selling a drug, but I like to joke around by saying that California might be the worst state in our country to open a business, but it's the best state to open a brewery. And Texas, where I'm from, might be the worst state in the country, or best state in the country to open a business, but the worst state to open a brewery. I think we're very fortunate that we do have progressive values. And if you look at kind of the history post-prohibition of how states rolled out their liquor laws, California, Oregon, Colorado, the more progressive states have more favorable laws for the brewers. And it, like Lee said, it gives us a fighting chance. I'd say it gives us a fair chance. It allows fair access to the marketplace. And if you have fair access to the marketplace, you can't make an excuse. And that is something very special here.
That's a good point.
I also think it's not just that. I think it's a combination of a lot of things, of the wine industry, Sierra Nevada, Ballast Point, Anchor, San Diego Brewing Company, the Pizza Ports, Carl Strauss, like all these things just kind of came together to work so well. And then there's also the consumer. I mean, I've always said that the consumer in San Diego, and then it kind of expands across the state more, but the San Diego IPA beer drinker is so far ahead of the game compared to every other city I've visited and drank beer in. And I think it's because it's y'all have been making beer for so long and making world-class IPAs that it's just kind of like, hey, you just don't really think about, it's good beer, it's good beer.
Right.
If my friends come in town and they go down to, pre-COVID, they're here for a conference on the gas lamp. I'm like, if you order like a macro light beer, they're going to know you're a tourist, but if you if you get an IPA, they're going to be like, oh, that guy's probably from here. So it's just, it's in our DNA. It's a cultural thing, I think, right here. And because there's been such good beer for so long.
That's a good point.
I'm going to argue, Colby, with you that there's a lot of really good beer in other places, and it didn't work out the same way as it did in San Diego, specifically in California, really.
Oh, yeah. Okay. So with the same access to the same favorable laws, that they didn't necessarily flourish the same way that they did in San Diego. And by the way, as we continue this conversation, speaking of San Diego IPA, not only does San Diego Brewing Company have the name. They have the San Diego IPA. Jesus. Look at that. Oh. I'm going to pour this one. And, but
hey, as we're pouring this beer, can you just talk a little bit about Harlot? And I know like, just about fermentation, tank geometry, head pressure. I think just briefly, like,
Yeah,
I don't have to get all complicated about it, but I think it's one of the special things about
Give
this
us
beer.
all the secrets. We want to know.
I want the recipe, Bill.
I'll give you the recipe. I think it's out there on the internet. There are no secrets. There are no secrets.
I'll give you the smoked Hellas recipe if you give me the Harlot recipe.
Perfect. So we did. Harlot is a Czech Pils recipe fermented with Belgian yeast. It's off the shelf. It's White Labs 530. That's the base strain. I can't remember if it's Abbey, but it's the West Mall, West Vleteren, St. Bernardus, Ockel strain. We ferment it relatively cool, so mid 60s. And Travis, so I started society with a former business partner who's our brewmaster. We had brewed together at a couple places or at the brewery, and we had a lot of unscientifically founded theories on brewing, and we ran with them. One was that short, squatty fermenters are better for Belgian beers that we like to make. And I know that a lot of Belgians ferment in either horizontal or shallow fermenters, but maybe they just did that forever. So our theory was if we have like this super short, squatty fermenter versus like a tall cylindrical one, we want to drive off all those phenols and esters from the fermentation process. So one, fermenting them cool, the yeast isn't going to have a lot of the byproduct from the fermentation that create all that spicy fruitiness. And then two, if you only have 10 feet of beer for all those byproducts to go through, that's less than having a tall, skinny fermenter. So the idea was, let's get this short, squatty 40-barrel tank and see if it works. And then we're going to get a tall, skinny 40-barrel tank, and we'll use that for our IPAs because as you're dry hopping, maybe the hops take longer to fall down into solution, so there's more exposure. So anyways, that's our tank geometry thing. Ended up, I think, working because the beers definitely taste better out of the short squatty one, and then we ordered a bunch more of the short squatty ones just for the Belgians. But we also do a low mash temp, really simple recipe, and we dry it out. I heard from one Belgian brewer, he was like, most of the American brewers that make Belgian beers have never drank real Belgian beers. They're just reading recipes out of a book, and it tastes like maple syrup or something, because everyone's just adding so much candy syrup and candy sugar that it doesn't matter. So the Harlot finishes at like 1 Plato, so 1004, 1005, and that's the low mash temp, and also very simple grain bill, and then kind of just more than anything, we don't want the yeast to talk too much or the grain to talk too much or the hops to talk too much. And this is kind of the approach of everything. It's like, how can we get everything to work together? So if we look at, everyone says balance in beer. For us, balance would be if you go to the symphony orchestra and you've got a bunch of strings playing all together. You might have 4 violins that sound like one, and the whole string department is playing along with the horns. They're playing along with percussion. They're playing along with the keys, and everything comes out as one sound. And that's kind of how I've always wanted to, that's what I've always loved about beer. Whereas if there's a beer, like a lot of my old home brews when I was making, crazy, cool, fun stuff to drink, it was like, oh my God, there's so much chocolate in there. Now I go, oh God, there's so much chocolate in there. Like, where's the balance? So that's kind of our approach. And the Harlot, we started society to make this beer. This is it. This is it. This is everything. This is what beer should be, in my opinion, which is you can have this at a Michelin star restaurant and it'll hold up to the food. You can have it in a nice, beautiful glass, white tablecloth, wearing a suit, or you can drink this out of a red Dixie cup in the backyard. And like I was saying, there's times where you drink beer and there's times where you taste beer. And I think this hits it both. This is the amateur's beer because it's not really offensive. It's really easy to drink. Or you get to the level of like a Colby or a Paul Segura, where it's like how, enjoying something that's light and delicate yet really complex. I kind of say it's like the souffle, that just because it's light and airy and fluffy and delicate doesn't mean it can't be really complex and incredibly interesting.
Right. I think you hit the nail on the head, man. It is a beyond approachable beer, but if you want to dissect it, you'll find that beauty in its intricacy that isn't that complicated. And most things that are that stand the test of time have that sort of scaffolding, right? Where we want the balance, but we want it still to have these certain little points of heightened perceptibility. And I think that's everything that this Harlot is. You went really well with the Belgian angle, because it's harder to find a dish that doesn't work with this than finding a dish that does, you know. Onto San Diego IPA or what?
I'm with it. I'm already on to it. I'm sorry.
No, I'm just drinking.
I'm like halfway through it.
Well, I drink all the Harlot, so now we have to go into it.
Yeah, that's an easy one.
So, no, San Diego IPA, definitely the flagship, often referred to in the brewery as trademark, because we did trademark it.
Good on you.
Yes. So if people come in and go, trademark, I want a trademark, that's it. So, to me, this is really the hop forward West Coast style. It's got a little more body than I think some. At 7.3, it's it does the job, and I mean it like outsells anything else. I mean, even when we had all 50 taps going. I mean, we've kind of cut back on just again because of COVID, because we weren't turning the beer often enough, because we weren't having as many people come in. So we kind of went back to the core and mainly our beers. But this is the one we can't always. I mean, we try to keep in stock and keep it up, and a lot of it has to do with the fermenters. Like Doug said, we have a couple fermenters that really do produce it really nicely, and we try to only use those for the IPA, and it does make a difference. And
definitely,
I'm extremely happy with it. And of course, it pays the bills, and
there you go, man. And I love it, man.
So,
delicious.
It also tastes good. So, and I think if your dad drank IPAs, you should try it. So,
well, how this IPA? What year, if you can remember, did you roll out with it?
It's probably been too many beers ago that I can't tell you. I mean, I remember there was the original resistance to brew it, because my partner always enjoyed English style ales. And so a lot of our beers were always oriented towards English style ale. And even our nut brown, that we still do, kind of had a Newcastle tint to it, because he really enjoyed Newcastle. And so we, when IPA when I started seeing people put hop oil in their beers and things like this, he's like, hey, this is actually something we should look at. He thought computers were going to be a fad, but, but I'm like, hey, I think, we ought to really brew this IPA. And to be honest, I can't remember which brewer we had at the time that we formulated it originally. And I apologize to someone who's out there maybe knows. But it took off. I mean, it just took off. It overshadowed our amber had been like number one.
It's no blueberry ale though.
No, it's no blueberry. Sorry.
So
it's a story behind blueberry.
Only is the blueberry, Oompa Loompa Brewery, but it is what it is.
Top secret.
It is a top seller. Yes.
I love the blueberry. Like when I was the guild president and we would have Brewers Guild tables, I think Dean was the brewer at the time, and I'd always tell him, bring the blueberry. It's good. Nobody else has anything like it. And when he would bring it, it would always be the first beer that would kick for you guys. I'd be like, see, I told you.
It was really good.
Yeah.
Beer festivals, everything. It just flies.
Yep.
So, no, it's number 2. I mean, it's IPA and then so, it goes. They're right there, neck and neck. So, and the accounts that we picked up through the county also have enjoyed those two. Those are our top two, is the IPA and the blueberry. So,
I think I remember the blueberry. It's one of those beers where if you had it, you had it, right? But
right.
So it was it. I mean,
it's not blue, and that was one of the things. It still looks like a normal beer. It's kind of a proprietary flavoring that we use on it. It does not involve any real blueberries sacrificing their lives, unfortunately. But it tastes like, the nose is like a blueberry muffin, and then the taste, it kicks in, but it's not super sweet.
Yeah, it's subtle, balanced.
Correct.
The B word again.
Right. I've had many people tell me that it's a life-changing beer because their girlfriend will actually drink it and they can actually have beers together. So they go, "You changed my life, dude." You know what? I'm like, they can have beers together, and I don't know what happened after that, but it changed my life. Okay, that's all he told me.
Where do you think beer festivals are gonna go in the not so distant future? Like, do you think since we've all
right? You can't have the tents next to each other; they'll all have to be 6 feet.
Yeah, I don't know. What about just entry? Do you have to prove that you got a vaccine, or do you have to take a test before you enter? Or
that's probably where it's gonna go.
You know what I mean? I was thinking the other day, I'm like, I could take a test, and if they would have a beer for me for the 15 minutes until I get my test back, I mean, even if I got kicked out, it wouldn't be so bad, right? I mean, you know.
Well, I know they're working on home.
Other than being tested positive.
Yeah, they're working on home test
Terrible
versions of this stuff. Or I saw something where you wear a mask and it had a little strip on it or something, and it would turn a color.
Lights up.
Yeah, exactly. You have COVID.
Oh yeah. Actually, what is it? UCSD is working on that technology, or USD.
Yeah, it's a San Diego company.
Yeah. It's quite revolutionary, and I think one of the things that people just are going to, they're going to get to the point where they're going to take a certain amount of mitigated risk, and like right now, patios are open. And everyone that's following what you should do is doing just fine. And I think people are resting easy on that. And the people that are going and participating in patio dining and patio drinking, I just think that you're going to see a beer festival that's going to be severely limited, very exclusive, but at least somewhat safe. So you're going to get a packed house for whatever capacity it is. But people are going to be making line, man. People are ready to go out and drink beer in safe spots.
I think summer 2022 is going to be the start of the Roaring 20s all over again.
There you go. You heard it here first.
That's it.
Yeah, that's what everybody says. And then you had the Great Depression. But hopefully that's not the way it goes.
Maybe that's better than the pandemic.
For a lot of people, it is. I think for a lot of people,
financially, it can't get worse.
So one of the things that
Lee, you were there for the first one, right? So what do you think?
Are you talking to me? Or you're talking to Doug, aren't you? Doug, who was there for the first one?
I think what a lot of people have, in every industry, we're a very specific industry. We're a very unique industry in the sense that when times get tough, people like to reach for the products that reproduce because it offers a tinge of solace. It makes them, for whatever reason or for however amount of time, it helps them cope with whatever the hell is going on. And so what I do think you're going to see is you're going to see an influx of people who are going to be weighing that COVID, but I still want to live my life and go and drink a good beer, kind of this teeter-tottering effect. And yeah, I kind of agree with Doug in a way. You're going to see people coming out and partaking in beer festivals and beer dinners and all that stuff as much as they can.
I'm probably not going to be sharing my samples quite as much as I used to.
if at all.
Going from tent to tent. You're like, hell, have you tried this? Yeah, that's probably not going to happen for a little while.
Everybody's going to need a new glass.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think, the thing that I see is that I'm seeing this every day. I mean, I'm seeing people come out like, we haven't been out for 3 months or 6 months or whatever. This is our first time out. We now feel confident or whatever to come out. And where all of us have been, it's kind of hard to do this type of work from home, like Zoom, like what we're doing right now.
It's odd.
So we've all been on the front lines. I mean, if anybody should be getting the shots first, it's us. But we've been out dealing with the public, doing all this stuff that we need to do to keep us afloat. And I mean, I've never been able to really just sit at home and collect the paycheck, or whatever. So it always took us out there risking us for the people that were coming out. But now, like I said, I'm seeing more people come out like, yeah, this is our first time out. We really, we heard about you. We were doing things correctly or whatever, and we want to participate again. And they're coming back to light. But
well, it's hard when it's just a lubricant and it's not a social lubricant. That's when it gets a little dangerous.
Well, look, you guys' setup, like society, your setup is, you're fortunate to have that big space in front of your brewery. And I go and it feels so safe, it just, not everybody was able to get that slab of real estate. And so in those particular circumstances, you're going to have a wave of fans and we'll call them barnacles that are just adhered to the ship, that are going to go out of their way, not because they're open and willing to put their health on the line, but because they know that supporting one of their favorite spots is going to do a lot more than that. And as long as they're offering a safe space, and as long as they're taking the proper precautions, you could still inject support into your favorite local brewery and hopefully keep them afloat.
I hear that every day. We're here to support you. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's
great. I mean, it's not crazy, but it's crazy great. I mean, it's like, who would have thought, that people really care, that, a local brewery isn't going to go away. So
I'm just happy we're not in the business of selling, I don't know, like printers or something like that. No offense to printer companies or anything. It's like, it's so easy. We're fortunate that it's beer. It's like, people love beer. So it's cool.
You're not a spa. You're not a massage parlor.
No, but no.
I don't know. But
no, we're not. But there's a bunch. There are a bunch around us. So I want to be careful what I say.
Exactly.
But it's one of those things where you're right, Doug. You're fortunate in that you are, or that we are a producer of something like beer, as opposed to, like you said, printers and stuff like that. Now, it is unfortunate to the industries that are crazy hit by something like this because of proximity, because of contact, because they really can't even do their job, because it is all on interaction and proximity, where guys like us, we can offer to go, and you can still enjoy what we set out to give you in the vicinity of your own home. And now we can do it virtually, so that we could pivot a little bit easier. But it kind of does go back to the conversation about how what you've done with your company is you've built an environment, you've built a feeling, you've built when you walk through those doors, you're brought into our Disneyland, you're brought into our place of family festivity.
It's definitely, we have a loyal family. And everybody's brewery, it's amazing that, everybody has the best brewery in the world according to your family. You know, it is. So they'll all tell you that, you know, you're the best ever. Or that beer is the best beer I've ever drank. You know, so luckily we have that family that makes you feel good.
No, it's a beautiful thing.
Also, too, we're in San Diego. Like, what a great place to have, like,
outdoor dining.
Relaxed restrictions for outside. I mean,
not in Austin.
Yeah, well, yeah, now. But I mean, I moved here from New York City, and there were so many outdoor drinking places. And did a bunch of work in Chicago, and there was a bunch of like outdoor beer bars and stuff like that, and beer gardens, rooftop bars. And I come to San Diego, I'm like, everything's inside. It's like, how does it? Like, why does it work here that people drink a bunch of beer? And I came up with a theory that there's like this inverse relation, that the better the weather, the less outdoor drinking and dining there is. And now I'm like, this is awesome. Like, what, it rained on Friday and we were all like pulling our hair out, like, holy cow, I can't believe it's raining on Friday, where you need to like have outdoor dining. And I'm thankful we're in Southern California too, because we can do this 365 days a year. It's pretty cool. And we should be doing it, because drinking outside is way more fun than drinking inside. Depends on the place. Sometimes inside's great.
It's real estate's the problem. It's just too expensive to have. You know, I mean, the extra square footage is the killer sometimes. You know, rent. But yeah, I mean, really, it is. We are lucky, no doubt.
But it's like having tanks outside. We shouldn't be paying to put tanks inside. We should pay to have the kitchen and like the service area inside, and everybody should be sitting outside. Always. San Diego. You're the best weather in the world.
Doug for mayor. Come on, dude. Let's make it happen.
He's on his way. He's on his way.
No, but you're right. And what we've all done, and what a lot of breweries out there have done, anybody listening that is in the industry, whether you're front of the house, back of the house, you own a brewery, you own a restaurant, and you've had to deal with the same problems that California has had to deal with, then you've had to dig deep and pivot, and it's spawned a level of ingenuity, creativity. You've had to tap into the fight or flight, and when you really look at the world kind of like from a pint half full kind of perspective, and you look at what's going on, you do have to, like, to Doug, to what you were saying, we are in San Diego, we are in California, we're making beer for a living, which is great. And these are, California Beer Week. These are moments where we can all just sit back and reflect on it. And we can just reflect on it. And what everybody here, the three of you, have been doing for the industry since God knows when, it has, hey, I don't know, man. There's like old jokes flinging all over the place. I gotta, and so, but what you guys have done for the industry is it teed up everything. And the only reason why our particular industry is even able to survive something like this is because of all that hard work. It's that scaffolding that you built on a solid foundation. And I think, Lee, we were talking about it when I went in. It's such a delight to see when the consumer needs to be a conscientious spender, where their dollar goes. Mm-hmm. And it's nice when it goes your way, because you feel like you did something right. When things were nice, you did it right.
I think as much as the weather is part of quality of life in San Diego, the craft beer is part of the quality of life in San Diego now. They kind of go hand in hand as far as I'm concerned. Can't have one without the other.
You go to a lot of areas and it's still not there. So yeah. Cheers.
Cheers to San Diego.
Hey, we're going to cheers.
Yeah, cheers it up. Cheers to San Diego beers.
Yeah, no doubt.
Cheers to San Diego beers, gentlemen. And let's take a little swig. Now, are you guys doing anything for California Beer Week? Is there anything that anybody should be on the eye out?
Doug?
No, I mean, from a brewery's perspective, we've always seen Beer Week's better for retailers. Well, I guess for a retailer, but restaurants and bars. I think the coolest thing, if anybody listening, go check out the website. Go to CCBA, California Craft Brewer Association. Look at what's going on because it's pretty cool. All these different guilds came together to put on California Craft Beer Week, and I think that's really a testament to our industry and what we're going through with COVID, and that we all, instead of trying to do our own things, got together and we're like, let's see if we can, make a bigger impact all at once, because there's not going to be, like we were talking about, there's no festivals. And the Bay Area Brewers Guild, I think, usually is the one who has their beer week during this time. They reached out to the CCBA. But it has Inland Empire Brewers Guild, Central Coast, San Diego, Orange County, LA. I'm sure I'm missing a couple, but it's all the Brewers Guilds in California. And these are nonprofit businesses. They generate income to keep people employed, and they have boards. And we all need this. I mean, this is like a driving force this is done for the consumer, not for the manufacturer, not for the brewery. And I think it's pretty cool. So as much as possible, check it out. There's going to be events all over the state.
And we're primarily just brewing the best beer that we can and offering it to the public any way we can. So again, I think Colby will agree too. The Beer Week in San Diego it's always Beer Week in San Diego, right?
Beer Week.
It's always Beer Week. It's beer weekend, beer day, beer everything. So we are all about the beer, and we want to honor the beer that is being produced, and especially under our name. So definitely come by, check it out.
Lee, San Diego Brewing Company, dude, thank you so much. Thank you for everything that you're doing. Thank you for everything that you've done. Thank you for all the amazing beer. And go to San Diego Brewing Company. Dude, Doug, Society, brother, the name says it all. You guys are making fantastic beer, and you're a fantastic dude. It's a fantastic company. I think I've never seen so much excitement around when you guys were starting to package ever. So it's a testament to how good your beer is. And every time I go to Society, literally, a lot of people say it like in a Cheers-esque kind of way, but I really do feel like, all right, cool. I feel like I'm at home. Everyone's so cool. Good. Everyone's chilling. So check out Society this week. Check out San Diego Brewing Company this week. Check out Ballast Point this week. Check out any craft brewery this week. Just make sure that you put a little aside, you show some love, and hopefully this ends soon. And well, like you said, every day is beer week. Every week is beer week in San Diego. So, there you go.
I'm about to crack this right now.
Oh, hell yeah. I love that sound. Dude.
It's really great to see the brewery behind you, too.
You want to see that? You see these?
Yeah.
That's where the magic happens.
I haven't been there in a while.
Oh, look at this. Sir, we have a patio open, man. What is that? Colby's holding something up to the camera.
The brewery provisions collaboration.
Oh, that was after me. That was past my time. The beer got a lot better once I left.
Oh, that's true.
Well, look, man, it was.
Can't argue with that.
Dude, everybody needs to get down and go support. Hey, you know what? We're doing a virtual tasting this Friday, the 19th. So anybody listening, sign up. If you're not in San Diego, it might have closed already. But if you are San Diego or proximal San Diego native, you can still go and swing by HBM Home Brew Mart and pick up your care package. And I'm hosting a virtual tasting in light of California Beer Week for everybody on this Friday, which is the 19th. So get your hands on that. If you haven't, it's going to be a blast. Other than that, unless you guys want to pimp and promote something else, I think we're going to log off.
Support your local brewery, restaurants, all that stuff. 5-star Yelp reviews all around. do to Yelp what those people did to what's it called? GameStop. Overload the system.
Robin Hood. Robin Hood.
Load them up with 5-star reviews. Tell me you miss them. I promise you it goes a long way, especially if you can't be there. I promise you it's awesome.
That's awesome, dude. Good people make good beer.
Good seeing both of you.
Likewise.
You know, I've seen Doug recently, but virtually. So look forward to having a beer with everyone.
Always good hanging out.
Yeah.
Thanks so much for your important time, especially you, Doug, with the new kid, the almost 1-year-old. So congrats on that.
She's in the
Congrats,
bathtub
man.
right now.
Congrats, dude.
Thanks, everybody. Really good seeing y'all.
All right, Lee. Thank you, man. Colby, thank you. Doug, get some sleep.
Happy Beer Week.
Happy Beer Week.
Happy Beer Week, man. All right, guys. That was amazing. I hope you enjoyed that conversation. Be sure to like, subscribe, and share the rest of our episodes on Ballast Point's YouTube page, channel, whatever. You can follow us on ballastpoint.com, Instagram, Facebook, all that jam. I'll see you next time, and thanks for tuning in.